We're back with another controversial debate in retro gaming. Now, controversy, I don't know, but there is kind of this pocket, I feel like, of gatekeeping a little bit within the hobby.
There is, for sure.
And you know, there's the emulation crowd that probably thinks people like us are insane. Like, why would you hoard all that stuff and have a room dedicated to plastic?
We get called hoarders all the time.
When you could just play this Raspberry Pi. And then there's the hardcore gamers that are like, oh, you emulate? You ain't playing the real thing. So let's dive through and talk about, and you guys fire off in the comment section, you know, how you view this topic. Because I think at the end, you're going to think our stance is probably different than I think people would assume.
Than what
right?
you expect.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's start with emulation. What do you like about emulation, dislike about emulation? Like, I guess, pros, cons type of thing.
Obviously, I am more of a physical media type of person. I love having the real thing. I collect video games. I collect vinyl. I just love being able to do real things, like how they were made. But emulation does have its place, and emulation is great. It's, first off, so convenient. And it's so nice to just be able to, like, oh, I have a hacked Wii, I can just play NES games, Super Nintendo games. It's all right there. It's super nice. It's super convenient. But it's not the same as, like, you know, putting in a real game to your NES and just playing that for a while, or leaving it on, because there's no save states, you know? Leaving it on for a couple days, grinding through a game, it doesn't have, it's not the same feeling. It's kind of hard to, like, explain, but if you know, you know. You know? It's weird.
Convenience, I think, is a big factor. You know, you look at this wave of mini consoles that came out, which is a form of emulation, right? It's original equipment, it's released by the companies, I guess is what I'm getting at. You know, Nintendo
it's legal ways of emulation.
Signed off on it. You know, TurboGrafx 16. Where the convenience for me, I think, is a big pro is like, I think about when we travel. So we go to video game conventions or to a friend's place or whatever. I'm way more likely to lug this around, you know, in my luggage or my briefcase and play when I'm on a business trip or whatever than I am to put the NES in there.
Yes.
A dongle to convert it and all of that. So I think there's that is a pro.
It's portable.
The other thing I do really like about emulation, and these things in particular, is I feel like it did, or is a conduit to people that probably otherwise wouldn't play the games.
Yes.
To play the games.
It's a great way to test drive, like, the car, basically. Like, because I know we've kind of had this debate, and we've been talking about it over the last couple episodes, is like, you know, some games are crazy expensive, and it's like, do you want to spend the money if you don't know, if you like the game?
Yeah.
Emulation's a great way to test drive the car. Emulation's a great way to be like, oh, I do like this game. I do want to spend the money on this game.
Yeah.
Or I never got around to playing this game. Should I try it? Damn, it's on the freaking Mini.
Yeah,
dude.
I love that there probably is some, you know, little kid out there that's dad or mom was nostalgic for the Nintendo, picked this up, and they plowed through some NES games.
Dude,
which is really cool.
It's so cool. And I feel like being able to play, especially with, like, obviously emulation is crazy, it's on everything, but, like, these minis, for example, it's a great way to, like, get the taste of nostalgia without, you know, you're emulating, but you're using a real controller, basically. Like, so kids can discover these old games that we loved as gamers kind of in the same way without having to do it in the same way.
Yeah, for sure. And
it's really cool.
And then there's certain consoles, I think, you know, the value in this TurboGrafx 16 mini when it came out is this is definitely, one, it's a kind of a obscure retro console, I would say. Maybe, I don't know if obscure is the right word, but not as many people have it.
Not as popular, yeah.
And it's super expensive to collect for. So I've been kicking the tires on, do I want to get in collecting for it? So I wanted to play this and play some of the games. And
the TurboGrafx 16 Mini is one of my favorite minis because it's a console I don't know anything about. I don't have any nostalgia for. Like, I like the games that's available, but man, getting into collecting it's insane. So, like, having a Mini, it's a great way to, like, be like, oh, the games are really cool, and I don't have to spend a ton of money.
Yep.
Same with, like, that's why I love, like, the Genesis Model 2.
Yeah.
Like, it has Sega CD games and all that stuff. It's like, that's awesome because I never played that kind of stuff, so I can discover these new games. And if I do end up loving it, maybe I'll think about buying the real thing.
Yeah.
You know, emulation is so cool in that aspect. It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
It is. And the cons to emulation. One, there's input lag. And I know there are ways around it, but for the vast majority of folks that are playing the NES Classic, just out of the box, running through a TV, and there are certain settings that can help with things, but you're not taking down Mr. Dream and Punch out in this, most likely, over slight input lag. So,
I mean, there are people that have.
Yes.
And if you have, Holy
I'm not
shit.
saying it can't be done.
Yeah.
I never lose against Tyson. It probably would take me 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tries, and I don't even want to mess my timing up and relearn how to play.
That's one thing that's really, especially when like it comes to retro. If you're emulating stuff from maybe Gen 6 or maybe just like things past that, and or lag
Gen 5 even, I would say, probably.
the lag doesn't matter. But if you're emulating NES games, Super Nintendo games, where it's designed to be tough and it's designed to be like precision and all this stuff, and you're trying to like work on a no death run, or you're trying to work on a freaking flawless run, doing it through emulation is so much harder. And if you balance between the two, like if you have a physical copy and the emulation copy, it's going to mess you up completely, because you'll start, like say you start on emulation and you're playing it and you figured it out and you're like, oh, the lag doesn't bother me, I'm good at it. And then when you put the real thing in, dude, here's a really good play. Like, it's crazy.
I remember when we were working on our no death run for Contra Hardcore,
and
we took the Genesis Mini with us to some convention.
I think it was Siege. We took it to Siege.
And
we told everyone, we were like, dude, we're really good at this game. Everyone was like, let's see how good you guys are. And I died on the first level. And I was like, I've never died here. What the heck's going on?
And it seems silly, probably not a big deal to most, but it is noticeable. It definitely is, especially on like these type of devices. Now, if you're going through a PC and you can make some tweaks and stuff like that, that may be a different deal. But that's not what the average person.
The casual gamer that is emulating is most likely having a mini, or someone gave him a modded console.
Yeah.
Like, the average gamer isn't going to go through the process of buying all these freaking converters and adapters, and that's where I feel like this emulation scene is weird, because there's all these like people that are like, well, you got to get this technology, and they're more into the technology aspect of it than they are playing the games, which is really wild.
Yeah,
because it's like in my perspective, it's about playing the games.
Yeah,
you know, if you want to emulate and play the games, that's great, as long as you're playing the games. If you want to get physical, play the games.
Yeah, I think they're perfectly fine for travel, for kind of casual gaming, and those folks that don't care about that stuff. And I'm not saying people that emulate. There's people that only emulate that are way more hardcore gamers than us. Yes. I'm just speaking to the average person. That lag stuff is not going to be an issue. So there's hardcores on both sides of the aisle. So the juxtaposition of this is the actual real thing. And it's just, to me, it's legit, no questions asked. This is the game. You're playing it the exact way it was intended.
It was intended to be played, and it was made to be played.
But there is kind of a pain in the ass aspect to it, right? You know,
Yeah.
I'm more likely to take this to a trip or maybe down to the garage. That's not a good example because I have an NES in the garage, but most people wouldn't. Than lugging an expensive cartridge, on the road or things like that.
And I mean, in our aspect, it's not really a big deal because we have fucking multiple CRT TVs. But most people don't have like a CRT TV. So then, like, if they are busting out their old NES or old Super Nintendo or Genesis or whatever, then they're like, well, how do I get this to play on my modern TV? And then they're trying to figure out like converting it. And then by the time they do all that, they go, dude, this looks like shit.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look good, and it's tough, dude.
And maybe a poor argument for physical or whatever is that it feels good. It's like that nostalgic.
It's nostalgic,
thing,
dude. Like putting in an NES game. Like, just imagine when you were a kid and you had an NES and you flipped open that freaking and you slid the game in, and then maybe the game didn't fire up, so then you had to like jiggle it. It's just that it might have been a pain in the ass, but also that feeling is nostalgic. Like, it's like, dude, that's so fun. And then when you put a game in and it fires up immediately, it's just like, let's go, dude. Let's go. Let's get freaking hyped. The Konami logo comes in. Oh, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I just like the fact that I know I'm getting the real deal. I'm getting no questions asked. I don't have to wonder, is there a little bit of lag, or is this ROM completely okay? And then,
is there anything that's really fucked up in it?
Is the music sound right? Or is the color palette a little different on this emulation box? I don't have to worry about that with the real thing. It's an authentic, guaranteed experience. So, that's my views on the real thing.
Yes.
Overall viewpoint. This is why this video is funny that we even took time to film it. I don't give a shit.
No, I don't care.
I don't care how anybody plays their games.
We've talked about it before, and we'll continue to talk about it. I don't care how you play your games, as long as you're playing games.
And having fun.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Oh yeah, you're freaking playing this game. That's badass, dude. Oh, what game are you playing? You playing it through emulation? Sweet. I've never heard of that game. I'll check it out. I might play it through emulation, or I might find a physical, or I might look up gameplay and be like, oh, that looks cool. Then I'll buy it. It's so cool. I think it's a great way to discover new games.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. The only rub that I do have, though, when like emulation versus the real thing, though, is when it comes to save states. Save states, I think, save states are great, and it's so awesome, like especially on these minis, that save states are an option. And it's like, okay, you're grinding through a game, you can save it, keep grinding through a game. When I'm learning a game, that's a great way I'll attack it. But if you use save states to like beat a game, and then you like brag about beating the game, it's not the same, dude.
Yeah.
It's not the same than like if you use save states to like beat Tyson or Mr. Dream on the NES Classic. I'm gonna say, dude, you beat the game, but you didn't.
I say in that vein, I say you completed
the game.
You didn't beat
the game. I think, if because that's when it gets a little iffy. If you just say, yeah, I completed it, good for you, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But man, in order to beat it, or in order to say you no-death ran something, it's gonna have to be on real hardware.
Yeah.
If you say you no-death ran something on emulation, I'm gonna question if you really did it. You might have, but I'm also going to be like, did you use save state?
It just creeps into the back of your mind. It creeps in.
Like, I want to believe you. I want to believe that you did it. But if you did it, if you no-death ran or beat it on freaking original hardware, there's no questions asked. It's like, you're a freaking badass.
Yeah.
You're a gamer, dude.
Oh, got the NDR, baby. Let's go.
That's awesome.
I think that's a good point. You know, I'm not against save states. Hell, when I got the NES Classic, just because of the length of the game, I wasn't doing it for nefarious purposes. And you could save the original Zelda, but I stated the shit out of the original Zelda. This first game I beat on it, just because it's so long.
Yeah, because you were like, let me just play it in segments. Yeah.
And you know,
and I think that's great if you're trying to just play games.
And the
awesome.
original game could save, and so it is cool in those instances, but. As far as like doing it so that you can rewind, or hey, I got this far, I'm gonna save state it so I can pick up in round 2 every time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a great way to learn and like get good at games. But if that's how if you're using it as your advantage, as a crutch to beat the game, I don't think it counts.
Yeah, that may ruffle some people's feathers.
It probably will ruffle. But like, dude, if you think you're that good, prove it.
Yeah.
Get the real thing.
Yeah.
Or I'll let you borrow the real thing, and let's freaking see you freaking no death run it, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think if somebody puts down a killer run and they don't save state their way through it, they deserve it no matter how they did it. That's really cool. You actually maybe jump through a few more hurdles if you had to emulate it, but I'm with you on that save state piece, which may get some folks fired up. I don't really care, because that's how we feel. So yeah, if I had to pick, I'm definitely going the real thing.
Yeah, I definitely prefer
several ways to emulate. All sorts of stuff.
I prefer physical all the way. I just love physical media. We've been talking about physical so much lately. I just prefer being able to touch it, being able to put it in, being able to start it. I just prefer playing it the way it's meant to be played. But then I also emulate all the time. We have a modded GameCube. We have a modded Dreamcast. We have modded freaking mini consoles. It's so nice, especially when we're traveling or when we're just like, whoa, I've never heard of this game. Let's see if we have it as a ROM, test it out. It's a great way to do that. Yeah. So I like both. Both options are great. But if I had to pick one, I would pick physical, just because I love the whole thing around it. You know?
I think it's very similar, I guess, to music, right? You're a vinyl collector. But you also have CDs. But you stream music probably every day.
No, yeah, I use Spotify I pay monthly for Spotify, and I use it every day. But then I also buy vinyl and listen to vinyl almost every day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so I can it's the best of both worlds.
That's I think where this, like, on both sides of the thing. I mean, obviously we're on the real thing side a little bit more, but we wander over to the neighboring town and have a good time over there too.
Great time.
The gatekeeping stuff. I don't know.
I don't understand why people get so upset if you're on one side or the other.
Yeah.
If you're like a diehard physical fan, why do you care if people are emulating? Like, I'm glad that you're playing physical, but why do you care that someone else played a game on emulation? Or vice versa, if you're an emulator, hands down, why do you care that people get physical? Like, why is it such a big debate in a fight? I think it just boils down to, are you playing video games? Yeah. Are you having fun?
Yeah.
That's all that should matter.
Yeah.
If you are, great.
Yeah. I think
nothing else should matter.
You know, this kind of was in the YouTube waves a while ago, and everybody was making that video like the retro problem, you know, and we didn't jump onto that because, you know, I just don't like doing that, but the dust has kind of settled. But that's a similar deal, and I think the guy was actually playing the real game. He was just using a clone console, but I feel the same way about clone consoles. I feel the same way about the Switch Online. If that's the way and what you have at your disposal to play it, enjoy, have fun.
Dude, we're lucky to have almost every console hooked up with CRT TVs and a stack. We're lucky that we have the option to do that and then also emulate. If you only have a new TV and only have a Switch, but are playing freaking Super Mario Bros. On your Switch, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that you're playing it, dude. Like, that's cool. Who cares?
That's where I don't get how, you know, picky or judgy sometimes gamers can get, because it's like, guys, it's video games. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like just a good time, and man, if the only way that we can talk about a specific game, because I love Power Blade 2, and you're like, I'm not paying $800 for it, but I love it too, and I'm playing it on my modded NES Classic. That's badass.
That's
we
awesome.
can talk about the game.
We can talk about the game.
No one's better than anybody else.
No,
there's just no gatekeeping anymore.
No,
like, let's stop.
I don't get how people get so upset. We do both, and I think that's the joy, and that we kind of talked about this in an earlier episode too. Is like, it's so awesome to be a gamer now because you have endless options of how to play the games.
Yep.
If physical is how you want to go, great. Emulation's how you want to go, great. Just play the games. You got so many games at your disposal. That's amazing. That's all that should matter.
There's probably some collector out there maybe that'll see this video and says, oh, you guys like the TurboGrafx 16 and all you have is the Mini? Well, you don't really like the TurboGrafx 16. I love the TurboGrafx 16. This is the only way I have to play it.
This is the only way I know about it.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not gonna fucking drop $400 to buy a console and then games on top of that, and I don't even know anything about it. You know?
I do have a lead on a TurboGrafx 16 though, just FYI. I don't know if I'm gonna do it or not, but probably won't. Yeah. But I'm just saying.
But it's an option.
Yeah.
It's a great way to like freaking play things you've never played before.
Yep.
Or if it's the only thing you have, it's a great way to just play games.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yep. Totally with you, man.
Yep.
Let's settle this in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. Emulation versus the real thing. Should it even matter?
Dude, why?
I don't think it does.
It shouldn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody should have in anything their own preference and their own opinion, but I'm not going to let my preference affect how you play and enjoy your games. And I hope that you don't let your preference of how you play and enjoy your games come back my way either. Let's just all have fun. Play video games. Have a good time.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's about, dude. Just play the freaking games and have fun. But if you're using save states, that's when I'm going to start judging.
All right, guys. We appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. We just love talking about random video game stuff. We'll see you next time right here on the one and only Gaming Off the Grid.